Let's play quietly. Hey everybody, this is Brian here from Let's Play Quietly, and tonight I have a little bit of Little Nightmares for you. This is a brand new game that I had seen some snippets of, but had not really known much about going into, and I'm kind of glad because it is super atmospheric and I'm really enjoying it so far. So, as you can see, we're sort of starting out in a very dreamlike state, and you can almost see the mists forming like an eye. But as things get a little bit clearer, there's a person there. And before we can really find out who they are, we end up waking up in what looks like almost like an alley. But as time goes on, you start to feel like we're in some sort of a ship. You can see that the screen is moving back and forth, almost as if we're floating in the water. So my best guess at this point is that we're on some sort of a boat type situation. And in these first couple minutes, I am just kind of playing around with the controls because you do get some button prompts, but they're sort of few and far between. So you have sort of a lighter that you can use, and it doesn't seem like there is a limit to how much you can use it. And when I walked over to this lantern, it would light it, and I thought at first that that was a save point, but it didn't really turn out to be. Now here I got a little confused because I was pressing the buttons, assuming that one of them would be the interact button. But the way that this game works, and you'll see the button prompt in a couple minutes, is that you use your right trigger to grab onto things. So you can see me just sort of experimenting with the buttons and not having much success right here. But while I'm kind of fumbling around, you can see that your character appears to be a young girl wearing a raincoat. And from what I've seen so far, she doesn't talk. Other than making small noises here or there. It took me a minute to figure out how to crouch as well. But, so this game immediately gave me vibes like the game Inside, which is a game that I played definitely in the last year, but really, really liked. And this game has a bit of a different art style, but definitely has that vibe, because basically it's a puzzle platforming game from what I can tell so far, and it definitely reminds me of Inside, because you're sort of going through each room or small area, and many of them have a puzzle that they require you to do. But right now let's just sort of look at the atmosphere. You can see those giant chains, which could be so big, or we might actually be really, really small. Maybe we're not human at all. It was kind of cool that when I knocked that little statue over, when I pick it up again, she sets it right, and I thought that was kind of cool. So you can use your crouch ability to go through small things. You can see in here that there is some furniture, and some of it's hanging from the ceiling. I'm not really sure what that's all about, but I was kind of exploring and seeing what I could grab onto and what I wasn't able to. And you can see in the background something went by that window in the door, and I thought something was going to come after me. So I hid under the bed, expecting someone to barge through the door. They did not. So I was just trying to find any way out into the next room. As you can see, you're basically going from room to room. And this was the first room that had something pretty disturbing in it. As you can see, there is a body hanging because someone obviously killed themselves. And I thought maybe we'd be able to pick up the letter, but we weren't. So you're just meant to kind of see that this is a place where people have suffered, and it's a place you don't want to be. So as you can see, the different puzzles, some of them are as simple as figuring out a way to open the door. Things get a little bit more complicated as we move on. This part really reminded me of Inside because you sort of see what looks like propellers out there. Maybe they're fans, or maybe they're propellers. You can see the hand marks on that refrigerator, and I don't know if you noticed, but two small things sort of ran away when I opened it. And the music cue sort of went up. Now right there, something is dropping down from the ceiling. And it's kind of squid-like, and also a little bit like the Venom symbiote, if you're a comic book fan at all. But you can see they hang from the ceiling, and they sort of drop down. So I was kind of running from the background to the foreground to try and avoid them. This room had a switch that you had to pull, and you could sort of use the camera to maybe sometimes get a glimpse of what's in the next room. And beneath you in these situations is basically the abyss. I really like the way that the character animates in this game. You can see she kind of, oh, there's another one of those things. And I don't think they're bad because none of them have attacked me. That really scared me when I fell through the floor. And you'll see right here, those slimy things are all over the place, and they're coming for you. I was really hoping that the light of my lighter would drive them off, but that did not. In fact, it may have attracted them to me. But we got away. And another one of those things. I tried to chase one at one point, but they go away pretty fast. And they don't seem to want to interact with you at all. There's also rats in some of the areas too. I was a little nervous that I was going to fall off the edge because you can actually fall off the edge. And at some point, I think I do. But I love the lighting so far. Like, it really keeps you guessing as to what's ahead in the dark spots. So I was just trying to go slow and not fall off. And I don't know if you can hear it because I have the volume turned down fairly low, but there's like almost like a mumbling in the background. So here, I'm trying to get through before the door closes again. So the first time I just kind of watched it to see what would happen. This time I made the jump, but I wasn't fast enough. And I had no idea up until this point that you could sprint because I had tried every button but the button that actually makes you sprint. Which, as you'll see from the prompt, is the square button. So I knew that it wanted me to jump over the gap, but I couldn't figure out because I still didn't know I could sprint. Like, how? So I even tried to crank the wheel from the other side just to give me a better look at it. And I'm trying to get ahead of steam. And I finally made it. So, again, there's some fans in here. And another one of those creatures, which I don't know if they're like old versions of me or something like that. But there doesn't seem so far to be a lot of tricks to it. You're just trying to move forward and navigate each room. I haven't found any like secret places yet. And other than that one place where I fell through the floor, I haven't noticed any like real surprises as far as that stuff goes. As you can see up there, there was some sort of like conveyor belt, and there's some sort of like searchlight. The fact that there was a sheet hanging here told me that I'm not the first one to try and navigate my way out of here. And as you can see too, like some of the rooms that you go into are like living quarters. There's sinks in here, you'll see. There's toilets. We were in a bedroom before. There was a place with a couch, so. And of course we found the body, so clearly there are people living here. That doorway is electrified, as you might have guessed from the sparks. So I was just trying to see if there was anything to climb on, but I couldn't get up to that shelf. And then I finally realized that it was probably the door that was blocking my line of sight. It just took a moment for it to click. And now we see the switch. Drag over this bundle of toilet paper. And there we go. Now it starts ticking as soon as you let go of the handle, so I knew I had to run. But then it seemed like I had a lot of extra time. I could tell from the silhouettes, was some sort of a playroom. And there's a door to go back into the other room right there. So I knew it wasn't as simple as I had just made it. And I kept looking for, like, the circuit to break or something like that, but then I realized I might as well just go take a look at the whole room. Because clearly it wanted me to do something here. The physics are pretty cool in this game, like you can knock over all those blocks and stuff like that. That ball is just kind of rolling around. And there's a train on the tracks, and I just sort of derailed it. That little carousel, you can make it turn. But then I saw that there was a second electrified door, and I realized that the same switch that shut off the first door shut off that one. So I would have to go all the way back and hit the switch and then hope to make it all the way through the room to the next area without getting caught when the electricity goes back on. I wanted to stay around and kind of play with the blocks a little bit, but once I knew what I had to do, my main focus was just executing on that, so. But first I have to get back into that room. So once again, the timer is ticking, and I'm making a mad dash and trying not to run into anything. And I actually made it, but just barely, because the power just went on. So, this is probably a good place to wrap up for now. So if you like this video, please click like and subscribe to our YouTube page, and I will definitely be playing more